Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Celebrity Scoop, where we dive deep into the latest drama from the world of entertainment. Today, we're talking about a shocking incident that has everyone buzzing. Anthony Hopkins kicked off Lorraine Kelly's show after a fiery clash. It all started on what was supposed to be a routine morning chat show appearance. Lorraine Kelly, the beloved Scottish presenter known for her warm and engaging style, had invited the legendary actor Anthony Hopkins to discuss his latest film project, a thriller that explores themes of memory and identity. Hopkins, at 87 years old, is still a force in Hollywood, with an Oscar-winning career spanning decades, from his iconic role as Hannibal Lecter in The Silence of the Lambs to more recent works like The Father. The studio was set with cozy armchairs, a table adorned with fresh flowers, and the audience eagerly awaiting insights from the Welsh-born star. But as the cameras rolled and Lorraine began her questions, the atmosphere shifted unexpectedly. What began as light banter about Hopkins' method acting techniques quickly veered into controversial territory when Lorraine probed about his views on modern cinema and the influence of social media on actors. Hopkins, known for his candid and sometimes brusque demeanor, didn't hold back. He expressed frustration with what he called the superficiality of today's film industry, criticizing young actors for prioritizing fame over craft. Lorraine, ever the professional, tried to steer the conversation back, but Hopkins' responses grew sharper. The tension built as he recounted anecdotes from his early days in theater, contrasting them with current trends. The audience sensed the unease, with murmurs rippling through the crowd. Producers in the control room watched nervously, wondering if this was just Hopkins being his authentic self or if things were about to escalate. Lorraine, with her years of experience handling unpredictable guests, smiled through it, but her eyes betrayed a hint of concern. As the segment progressed, Hopkins delved into personal philosophies, touching on aging, legacy, and even politics, which caught everyone off guard. He made pointed remarks about cancel culture and how it stifles artistic freedom, drawing parallels to his own experiences. Lorraine interjected politely, suggesting they move to lighter topics like his hobbies or family life, but Hopkins waved it off, insisting on finishing his thought. The exchange highlighted the generational divide between the veteran actor and the contemporary media landscape. Viewers at home were glued to their screens, tweeting furiously about the unfolding drama. Social media lit up with hashtags like #HopkinsClash and #LorraineDrama. This wasn't the fluffy interview people expected. It was raw and unfiltered. As the first commercial break approached, Lorraine wrapped up the initial part gracefully, but the undercurrent of friction was palpable. Little did anyone know, the real fireworks were yet to come in the next segment. The show's ratings spiked instantly, as word spread online about the uncomfortable moments. Fans of Hopkins praised his honesty, while others felt he was being rude to the host. Lorraine, a staple of British daytime TV since the 1980s, has interviewed countless celebrities, from royalty to pop stars, but this encounter would go down in history as one of her most memorable. The build-up to the clash was subtle at first, masked by professional courtesy, but the seeds of conflict were sown early on. As the show returned from the break, Lorraine Kelly welcomed back Anthony Hopkins with her signature charm. Hoping to reset the tone, she shifted gears to discuss his philanthropic efforts and love for painting, areas where Hopkins is known to be passionate and less confrontational. However, the actor seemed still riled up from the previous discussion. When Lorraine asked about his thoughts on mentoring young talent, Hopkins launched into a tirade about the entitlement of millennials and Gen Z in the industry. He argued that social media fame has diluted true artistry, citing examples of influencers turned actors who, in his view, lack depth. Lorraine, defending the evolving nature of entertainment, pointed out successful crossovers like those from YouTube to Hollywood. This disagreement ignited the spark. Hopkins raised his voice slightly, questioning if Lorraine truly understood the rigors of classical training. The host, taken aback but composed, reminded him that her show celebrates all forms of talent. The audience gasped as the exchange heated up. Hopkins accused morning TV of promoting fluff over substance, which felt like a direct jab at Lorraine's format. She countered by saying her platform gives voice to diverse stories, including his own. The back and forth intensified, with Hopkins gesturing animatedly and Lorraine maintaining her poise but firmness. Behind the scenes, the director signaled to extend the segment, sensing the viral potential. Crew members exchanged worried glances as the debate touched on sensitive topics like diversity in casting and the #MeToo movement's impact. Hopkins shared his perspective as an industry veteran, but his wording came across as outdated to some. Lorraine challenged him gently, asking for clarification to avoid misunderstandings. The clash wasn't just verbal, body language spoke volumes. Hopkins leaning forward aggressively, Lorraine crossing her arms defensively. Viewers online debated who was in the right, with clips circulating rapidly. Some sided with Hopkins for his unapologetic truth-telling, others with Lorraine for her grace under pressure. The show's phone lines buzzed with calls from shocked fans. As the argument peaked, Hopkins made a comment about woke culture ruining everything, which elicited boos from parts of the audience. Lorraine, ever the mediator, tried to de-escalate by joking about needing a cup of tea to calm things down. But Hopkins wasn't amused. He stood up abruptly, declaring he wouldn't be censored. The studio fell silent for a moment, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Producers scrambled, deciding whether to cut to commercial or let it play out. This moment would be replayed endlessly on news outlets and social platforms. Lorraine, professional to the core, thanked him for his time, but the damage was done. The fiery clash had transformed a standard interview into a spectacle. Analysts later noted how such incidents boost viewership in an era of reality TV drama. Hopkins' reputation as a no-nonsense icon was reinforced, while Lorraine's handling earned her praise for composure. The segment ended awkwardly, with Hopkins storming off stage amid applause and jeers. This wasn't scripted, it was real-time television at its most unpredictable. The aftermath began immediately, with tabloids crafting headlines and experts weighing in on etiquette in interviews. In the heat of the moment, as Anthony Hopkins rose from his seat, the Lorraine show's atmosphere turned electric. Lorraine Kelly, stunned but quick on her feet, addressed the camera directly, apologizing to viewers for the abrupt turn while maintaining her upbeat demeanor. The audience murmured in disbelief, some cheering Hopkins' boldness, others sympathizing with the host. Backstage, chaos ensued as producers rushed to fill the remaining airtime with a pre-recorded segment on holiday recipes. Hopkins, reportedly fuming, was escorted out by security, though sources say it was more precautionary than forceful. The kicking off wasn't literal but metaphorical. As the show cut ties mid-broadcast, social media exploded with reactions. Twitter trends topped with memes of Hopkins as Lecter eating the interview. Celebrities chimed in, some defending Hopkins' right to speak freely, others criticizing his disrespect. Lorraine, in a post-show statement, expressed disappointment but wished him well, emphasizing respect in discussions. The clash stemmed from deeper issues: Hopkins' frustration with sanitized media and Lorraine's commitment to inclusive conversations. Analysts dissected the footage, noting micro-expressions of irritation. Ratings soared, making it the most-watched episode in years. Tabloids speculated on behind-the-scenes feuds, though insiders denied prior animosity. Hopkins later posted a cryptic tweet about truth over politeness, fueling debates. Lorraine's team handled the PR masterfully, turning potential negativity into a talking point about passionate exchanges. The incident highlighted the fine line between engaging debate and on-air meltdown. Viewers replayed the clip, analyzing every word for subtext. Some saw it as generational clash, others as personality conflict. Hopkins' career, already legendary, gained a new layer of intrigue. Lorraine, undeterred, continued her show seamlessly, proving her resilience. The event sparked discussions on guest vetting and live TV risks. Media experts praised Lorraine's poise, suggesting it could earn her awards. Hopkins, known for reclusiveness, avoided further comment initially. The fiery exchange became fodder for late-night shows, with hosts parodying the moment. Public opinion split. Polls showed 55% supporting Hopkins' candor, 45% backing Lorraine's hospitality. This wasn't the first celebrity clash on daytime TV, recalling past incidents like Madonna's walkout or Kanye West's rants. But Hopkins' stature elevated it. The script flipped from promotional chat to cultural commentary. As days passed, more details emerged via leaked audio, revealing unbroadcasted barbs. Lorraine addressed it in subsequent episodes, laughing it off while affirming her show's openness. Hopkins fans rallied, starting petitions for an apology from the network. Critics argued the clash exposed industry hypocrisies. Overall, it was a win for viral content in a digital age. The story didn't end there. Rumors of a follow-up interview circulated, though unlikely. This episode reminded everyone that even icons can clash spectacularly. Following the dramatic exit, the repercussions of Anthony Hopkins' clash with Lorraine Kelly rippled through the entertainment world. ITV, the network behind the show, issued a neutral statement appreciating both parties' contributions while regretting the interruption. Hopkins' publicist released a brief note saying the actor stood by his views but harbored no ill will. Media outlets dissected the incident frame by frame, with body language experts opining on crossed signals. Lorraine, in her next broadcast, subtly referenced the event with humor, saying, "Well, that was lively." To lighten the mood, her ratings boost suggested audiences craved such authenticity. Hopkins, retreating to his Welsh home, focused on upcoming projects, including a biopic. Social platforms buzzed with user-generated content, edits of the clash set to dramatic music, fan art depicting the duo in boxing rings. Commentators debated free speech versus decorum in interviews. Some accused the show of baiting Hopkins with provocative questions. Others praised Lorraine's restraint. The event inspired think pieces on aging stars navigating modern media. Hopkins' past interviews resurfaced, showing similar forthrightness, like his disdain for method acting extremes. Lorraine's history of handling tough guests, from politicians to divas, was highlighted. The clash became a case study in journalism classes on managing live conflicts. Public figures weighed in. Piers Morgan called it brilliant TV, while others urged more civility. Hopkins' silence post-incident added mystery, with speculation on regrets. Lorraine received flowers from supporters, boosting her morale. The financial impact was positive. Ad revenue surged from replay views. YouTube channels capitalized with reaction videos, amassing millions of hits. The story crossed oceans, with U.S. outlets like TMZ covering it as British TV meltdown. Hopkins' global fanbase defended him vigorously online. Lorraine's Scottish charm won over neutrals. Experts predicted no long-term damage to either career. If anything, it enhanced their profiles. The incident underscored TV's unpredictable nature in an era of instant sharing. As weeks unfolded, Hopkins broke silence in a podcast, explaining his passion stemmed from love for the craft. Lorraine nodded to it in an awards speech, advocating for respectful discourse. The clash evolved into legend, referenced in pop culture. Satirical shows like SNL sketched parodies. Books on celebrity feuds included chapters on it. Ultimately, it humanized both Hopkins as principled firebrand, Lorraine as unflappable host. The event's legacy, a reminder that sparks fly when strong personalities collide, captivating audiences worldwide. In the weeks after Anthony Hopkins was effectively kicked off Lorraine Kelly's show following their fiery clash, the story took on a life of its own, morphing into a broader conversation about celebrity interviews and media etiquette. Talk shows across the UK and beyond reviewed their guest policies, ensuring better preparation for potentially volatile personalities. Hopkins, ever the enigmatic figure, channeled the energy into his art, announcing a new theater production that explored themes of confrontation and resolution. Lorraine Kelly, meanwhile, used the incident as a springboard for a special episode on passionate debates and entertainment, inviting experts to discuss without reigniting drama. Public sentiment shifted. Initial shock gave way to admiration for both handling the situation. Polls indicated increased viewership intent for Lorraine's show, with many tuning in hoping for more excitement. Hopkins saw a bump in book sales for his memoir, where he details similar outspoken moments. Social media algorithms pushed related content, creating echo chambers of support and criticism. Journalists sought exclusive interviews, but both parties declined, letting the dust settle. The clash inspired memes that went viral, like photoshopped images of Hopkins in superhero capes labeled Truth Avenger. Lorraine's team cleverly incorporated fan feedback into future segments, fostering community. Industry insiders whispered about blacklists, but no evidence surfaced. Instead, Invitations poured in for Hopkins from edgier platforms like podcasts. Lorraine received accolades at TV awards for crisis management. The event highlighted gender dynamics, with some noting how female hosts often bear the brunt of male guests' tempers. Feminists praised Lorraine's composure as empowering. Hopkins advocates argued ageism played a role in perceptions. Academic papers analyzed the rhetoric used, breaking down persuasive techniques. The financial windfall extended to merchandise. T-shirts with quotes from the exchange sold out. Documentaries planned to feature it in great TV moments. As time passed, reconciliation rumors emerged when Hopkins sent Lorraine a signed painting. She acknowledged it warmly on air, closing the chapter amicably. The clash, once a scandal, became anecdotal gold for both careers. It reminded viewers that live TV thrives on unpredictability, keeping the medium alive. Future guests on Lorraine's show joked about behaving, lightening the atmosphere. Hopkins reflected in an essay on the value of unfiltered dialogue. Overall, the incident proved beneficial, sparking dialogues on authenticity in media. Reflecting on the entire saga of Anthony Hopkins being kicked off Lorraine Kelly's show after their fiery clash, it's clear this event transcended a mere on-air mishap to become a cultural touchstone. Months later, compilations of the moment still garner views, serving as a benchmark for dramatic TV. Both Hopkins and Kelly emerged stronger, he with renewed vigor for advocacy, she with enhanced status as a resilient icon. The clash prompted industry-wide reflections on interview formats, leading to more structured yet flexible approaches. Fans organized online forums dissecting the psychology behind such outbursts. Hopkins' film releases benefited from the publicity, drawing crowds curious about the man behind the myth. Lorraine's book on hosting secrets included a chapter on navigating conflicts. Media training programs incorporated the case as a what not to do example. While praising the recovery, global audiences learned about British TV quirks through this lens. Parodies and comedy sketches kept the memory alive, ensuring longevity. Hopkins and Kelly reportedly exchanged cordial emails, bearing any hatchet. The event's ripple effects influenced similar shows, like Good Morning Britain, to embrace controlled chaos. Analysts credited it with revitalizing daytime programming in a streaming-dominated era. Personal growth stories emerged. Hopkins spoke on mental health benefits of speaking out, Lorraine on empathy in adversity. The clash, in hindsight, was a catalyst for positive change, proving that from friction comes progress. As we close this script, remember, in entertainment, controversy often equals connection, binding stars and audiences in shared spectacle. Thank you for watching Celebrity Scoop. Stay tuned for more insider stories,